The 3rd of Leaf Fall, year 1252. This village seems to be running low on supplies. They've handed out flyers offering silver for food. I make my way into the village and spot a large man fishing in the river with a glowing rod. I wonder what enchantment he may have on it, but I focus on the task at hand. I quickly pass by a small man, probably a halfling, that's also heading into the village, but my long strides pass him by rather quickly. As I enter Handoff, I notice a slender female archer is inspecting the village quest board. She has a curious rune upon her face, but I don't have time to stop and ask about it. Suddenly, the tavern owner explodes out of the door to his tavern and makes an offering for some cheap drinks to anybody that may be struggling in these hard times. I suspect most people are. I quickly glance into the tavern as I walk past to see it is dimly lit, but there is raucous laughter emanating from inside. A stark comparison to the rather dreary and hopeless feeling given off in the rest of the village. I notice a pale sea elf stands out sitting at the bar. From behind, her blue hair makes a sharp difference, but I must keep moving on. The town hall is incredibly busy. Something has occurred between some children and a man who had his coin purse stolen. Not my problem. There's a large crowd making it rather difficult to move through to the town hall, but I'm eventually able to force myself through, elbows and bruises aside, and I get into the town hall ahead of me, where I meet up with a small balding man who is scurrying about busily. I stop him briefly to ask where I might find the tome of the author that I'm looking for, sparing only the details he needs to know. He has a miserable attitude. He looks me up and down and scowls as if I just insulted his family. Typical reaction I receive from people with zero intellect. He snorts out that I should look in the library and motions off in a vague direction, hoping to rid of me as quickly as possible. I make my way to the rather dilapidated library and head inside, slightly ducking as the doorway is rather short. The librarian inside is rather narcoleptic. She keeps dozing off almost instantaneously after speaking. But she does seem to know her books well. She aids me in finding a book that has its text hidden by some sort of ancient magic. The type is lost on me, unfortunately, but I note this down for later. Alas, it is not the tome I'm looking for. With a large sigh, I get up, ready to leave, as a small man with an ancient text on runic magic sits down across from me. A small halfling I pass on the way in, if I remember correctly. Interesting, but unimportant. The librarian says the only other book that she had of this type was stolen away by the kobolds who have been raiding this village regularly. She assumes the book may have been taken to their hideout. She didn't have much more insight. I need to find these kobolds. This journey for this book may be longer than I anticipated. I head to the town hall trying to speak with the mayor about the possible hideout location, but when I arrive it seems to be a bit of mass chaos. Aside from the incident earlier with the stolen coin purse, there are people that are bringing in food, water, and other resources in exchange for the silver coins on the flyer. I've managed to steal a small bit of the secretary's time. She tells me the mayor is too busy to see anybody currently. Of course he is. At this point I'm exhausted from my long journey and lack of information I've uncovered. Disappointed in the seemingly waste of time, I head to the tavern for the night. As I walk in, I notice there's a very large man eating sloppily and chugging tankards of ale at a table in the center of the tavern. Completely drunk. At a table next to him is a mysterious, yet elegant-looking man. I'm more intrigued by him, and he appears to be somewhat more knowledgeable than most of the other drunkards in the tavern. I sit to join him and discern some info. He's a gambler and asks me if I'd like to play a game. I'm not much of the gambling man myself, but I am interested in any information he has on the kobolds, so I ask him bluntly. He says he's also looking for the kobolds, but he's rather apprehensive and jumpy. He tries to tell me that I'm inadequate at handling myself. Poor judge of character on his end. I make an attempt to intimidate him a bit, show him that I'm more than what he perceives me to be, but he sees right through me. His golden cloak glints for a moment, and before I could even notice, he flips an exquisite blade out of his waist and styles it around his hand. The situation has gotten a little more tense, and the large fisherman that I had noticed earlier on my way into town stops by the table, probably attempting to defuse the situation. This causes the shrouded man to get up and walk away to a different table. I'm getting nowhere in here with any information. While I'm writing this, one of the very beautiful elves in the tavern motions toward me. She's the elf I saw at the village's quest board. I'm not too interested, so I ignore her. I don't need the company of women today. Time passes by, rather slowly, and drunk tavern dwellers begin to stumble home for the night. I noticed the small man from the library earlier is at the bar talking to the bartender, so I approach him cautiously and notice the journal he was carrying with him had some runes written in it before he closes it. I slightly overheard the bartender offering a job to the man, but I had other things on my mind. I need to find this kobold hideout. I step in and ask the bartender bluntly if he knows anything about them. The bartender is apprehensive to give information, but says he would if I can help him with this job of his. Before I can even ask for more info, I hear, "We'll take the job," coming right from behind me. I notice the two interesting female elves and the large orcish fisherman are behind me listening in. Why are they butting into my business? I'm not with them. They begin to introduce themselves to each other. There's Natroxus, the large brutish warrior with the odor of fish wafting off of him. Raz, the small man with the interest in runes. Daria, the gorgeous sea elf with blue hair and blue eyes. And Zyla, an elven archer with a mysterious rune on her face. I'm not interested in them. I just need to get this info to get the book I'm looking for. My brother is my priority. Besides, I do not care for the company of others. The bartender, Greg, gives us a location of some wolves that have been attacking traders right outside of Handolf. I make my way there to dispatch of the creatures. It seems the others are following suit. They wanted to set up camp, and I was tempted to let them, but against my better judgment, I persuade them to continue onward. I wanted to get this over with as soon as possible, and they could be of use to me in dispatching these wolves more quickly. We enter a dank, pitch-black den where the wolves are supposed to be. It's so dark that even I am having trouble seeing. We make our way a little further in. We find that even this late at night, there's nothing here. The wolves are not sleeping as they should be. They must be out on a hunt. As we shuffle our way back outside, Daria notices a fresh tracks leading outside of the den, so we begin to follow them. The dark of the night begins to obscure even my own view, as I'm unable to notice things some of the others are. We come upon a small clearing with a campsite set up. The fire still crackled in the center of the camp. However, as was soon made apparent, the wolves we were hunting had made short work of the campers. Across the campsite, we could see 4 wolves and a giant, hulking, bloody direwolf tearing into a couple of unfortunate souls. They were entirely distracted by their feast and allowed us to sneak upon them. The battle began and ended rather quickly. Natroxus is a formidable warrior. Daria seemed to struggle a bit at first as she was swinging around a bit haphazardly, but she found her footing later in. And Zyla managed to avoid an ambush from behind from 2 other wolves and made fast work of them. As the others looted around the campsite, I went to skin the direwolf to take it back to Greg as proof of our victory. During their looting, Zyla found and befriended a wolf pup. Though Greg wanted them all dead, this pup seems too young to do much harm, and likely wouldn't survive on its own. We all make our way back to the tavern and tell Greg of the victory, as I hand him the pelt. He offers to pay up some gold, though I refuse. It's not gold that I need, but information on the kobolds. He tells us a roundabout location near the Blackfang area of the island, but doesn't know an exact location. Of course not. He says we should speak with the mayor tomorrow and offers us some rooms of which I take the nicest of. I guess that's all for the day. The others all seem interested in the kobolds as well for their own reasons, but I doubt we'll be sticking together after this. I'll make my way to the town hall first thing in the morning and head out to the kobold hideout. Thank you for tuning in to the second reading of the D&D session. From here on out, I'll be recording one day at a time from our sessions. Some of the days will be longer, some of the days will be shorter. It all just depends on what's happening. If you like this and you want to hear more, be sure to subscribe and leave a like. Also, if you have any comments, I'd love to hear them below about how it can maybe improve, or anything that you liked. See you next week for the next day. Thank you very much. Peace and love.